It was a bright Saturday morning when my wife, Sarah, and I decided to spend the day relaxing in our new home. We had recently moved into a peaceful neighborhood, one that was supposed to be the epitome of suburban bliss. But little did we know, the local HOA had a different idea of peace. The trouble started when Sarah, while casually chatting with a neighbor, mentioned she wasn't a part of the HOA and didn't have to follow its rules. The neighbor, a somewhat nosy woman, was quick to inform the HOA that Sarah was apparently defying their authority. Within hours, we received a knock on the door. I answered it, expecting maybe a friendly neighbor or a delivery, but instead, two men in plain clothes stood on the porch. They identified themselves as officers sent by the HOA to address a complaint. My immediate thought was that it didn't feel right. They didn't present any credentials or even a badge, just a vague mention of HOA rules. Sarah, confused and frustrated, insisted that she wasn't part of the HOA and didn't need to follow any of their directives. The situation was escalating, and just as I was about to ask them to leave, one of the men got aggressive, telling Sarah she was breaking HOA rules and that the property was theirs to govern. At this point, something clicked. I had heard of HOAs overstepping their bounds, but this was a new level. I calmly asked them to show some form of identification, but they couldn't. Instead, they tried to intimidate us further, demanding Sarah's information. That's when I realized the truth: they weren't real cops. They were just hired goons, probably sent by the HOA president, trying to strong-arm us into compliance. I quickly pulled out my phone and started recording. Then I dropped a bombshell. I told them Sarah didn't just live in the neighborhood, she owned a large portion of the HOA's property, which was a fact they weren't aware of. The two men froze, realizing they had underestimated us. The intimidation tactics backfired, and after a brief moment of silence, they left, embarrassed. We immediately contacted a lawyer and made it clear to the HOA that they had overstepped in the worst way. From then on, the HOA left us alone, and we learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate the power of knowledge, and the willingness to fight for what's right.